In 2019, protests against an extradition bill in Hong Kong drew global attention to the semi-autonomous city. After the unfruitful Umbrella Revolution of 2014, many Hong Kongers knew they were facing their now or never moment. Beyond the withdrawal of the bill, many called for full democracy and protection of the freedoms guaranteed under the city's basic law. For many, the months-long protests reinforced their identity as Hong Kongers, and the younger generation was eager to defend its future from Beijing's encroachment. But how legitimate is Hong Kong nationalism? And where does it come from? Despite Chinese Communist Party propaganda, the idea that Hong Kong has always been part of China is a myth. The city is located in the historical region of Lingnan, which was considered undeveloped and foreign by Imperial Chinese. Its main inhabitants, the Tan, were a boat-dwelling group that were looked down on by China in the past. The seafaring Tan later profited from the booming trade between China and the West. In 1841, the British occupied Hong Kong Island after winning the First Opium War against the Qing dynasty. In the following decades, the city attracted Chinese immigrants, many of whom were from the bottom rung of society and seeking a better life. Although these arrivals represented various ethnic groups, they were all equally suppressed under British rule. For example, the 1888 Light and Pass Ordinance prohibited Chinese from leaving their homes from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. unless they had a written pass and carry a lamp. However, by working for European merchants as compradors and participating in trade and money transfers at this free port, many Chinese immigrants got their first taste of affluence. Hong Kong took a huge leap forward in the 1860s, transforming itself from a rural fishing village into an indispensable regional commercial harbor.
所以香港的特别情况，它是一个不平常的殖民地，它主要不是哪一种就是用来开采东西的地方，也是主要是帮助英国人与清帝国做生意的一个商埠。因为他们不懂中文，他们不懂得说清帝国的语言，也很大的文化上的差异，所以他一定要有一个中间人和他去清帝国那边的商人去沟通。然后当时什么人可以担当这个角色，就是哪些就是凯阳族群或是在广东那一带的边缘的人。
During the 1880s, a group of westernized Chinese elites in Hong Kong increased their influence over local politics. Kai Ho was one of the most prominent figures among them. Born in 1859, he completed his education in law and medicine in Britain. Some historians consider Ho a pioneer of Chinese nationalism, as he proposed political and economic reforms to save the flailing Qing Empire. But in a letter addressed to British MP Charles Beresford in 1899, he wrote, "By a proper system of organization and greater encouragement to British subjects of Chinese parentage, they can be made an arm of strength to Great Britain commercially." He suggested that British subjects of Chinese parentage, meaning westernized descendants of Chinese merchants, would, quote, perform wonders and help to maintain the commercial supremacy of Great Britain. What Ho truly represented was a new unique identity among Hong Kong's local elites who straddled China and Britain to seek the best for their birthplace. Following the collapse of the Qing Empire in 1912, turmoil ensued as local warlords competed for the reins of power in China. On May 30, 1925, several Chinese were killed during a bloody confrontation with British police in Shanghai. The incident provoked widespread anti-British sentiment and led to the Canton Hong Kong strike in 1926. The strike damaged the local economy and pushed Hong Kong's elite to reach out and communicate with their working-class brethren through various publications. They even sponsored scholars from China to teach Confucianism and traditional Chinese virtue to stem radicalism. These efforts helped disseminate the local identity previously limited to the upper class and reinforced the contrast between Hong Kong and China. The colony became a land of stability and prosperity where cultural heritage was passed on and appreciated. while its neighbors to the north remained mired in military mayhem followed by the radical nationalism seen in the May 4th movement. The CCP's takeover of China in 1949 posed another dilemma for Hong Kongers' identity. Communist China was no longer the homeland to which they felt culturally connected, and under the colonial rule, it was unrealistic to believe their support for the defeated Nationalist Party, 45 in Taiwan, would turn the tables.
所以说，大家都说大家是中国人 ，OK？ 香港人那个时候还说自己是中国人，中国人当然说自己是中国人，但是他们所写的中国人是两种不同的东西，所以你现在可以说，虽然大家都用中国这两个字，但是大家都是认同的是同一样东西吗？或是说这两种所谓叫做中国国族主义的东西是同一种国族主义吗？甚至有一种说法就是说，有一位就是以前就是一位中国研究的学者，就是叫做 Lucian Pye， 他有说法就是中国不是一个真正的nation state， 中国不是国族国家，没有真的国族主义，它有的是一个装扮成为一个，其实装扮成为一个国族国家的文明。Our civilization pretends to be a nation state.
In 1967, riots led by local communists resulted in severe casualties and prolonged social turbulence in Hong Kong. Fending off the mobs, Hong Kongers had their first shared experience of resisting communism. They realized if they wanted to preserve the way of life they cherished, they had to first distinguish themselves from the Chinese. However, with Britain's 99-year lease of Hong Kong's new territories set to end in less than 2 decades, Beijing no longer shied away from its ambition to annex the British colony. Once China formally joined the United Nations in 1971, Hong Kong and Macau were removed from the list of non-self-governing territories, depriving their residents of the right to self-determination recognized by the international organization. The CCP also approached Hong Kong merchants and social activists, signaling that the future under the Chinese rule would be more business-friendly and democratic than in the colonial era. But it didn't take long for Hong Kongers to witness the true colors of the Chinese regime when it crushed pro-democracy demonstrators with tanks and troops at Beijing's Tiananmen Square on June 4, 1989. With patriotism tantamount to tolerating CCP atrocities, this further consolidated nationalism in Hong Kong.
虽然1990年代，我读书的时候还是英国殖民地，但是他那个时候就是过渡时期，就是他政府开始要为1997年的事情为做准备。所以就是我可以说1994说他的教育的过程里面是个学习成为中国人的过程，就是 a process of learning to become a part of China 的过程。但是对于我们在香港人的观察就是说，我们不知道他最后的目的就是说他只是为了就是用100万人生的工作。但是我们有种想法就是，中国真的是在改变，它是很基本上的改变，它是可以放弃社会主义。然后你知道当时比较流行的讲法就是一种近代化理论，就是上次我们这些小平民以及在每个国家的国家元首都在想这个东西，就是说经济上面的自由化必然会引致政治上面的自由化。所以就是我会说到，中国这么大的转变，或许这个地方会有希望，或许可能我在多几十年之后，也有可能变成一个自由民主的国家。所以我们这哪一种就是当时我们的认同有点摇摆。
Hong Kong soon saw its economy stagnate and housing prices surge after the handover to China in 1997. At the same time, Beijing's growing encroachment provoked more Hong Kongers into standing up for their remaining freedom. The July 1st march in 2003 mobilized more than 500,000 residents to protest their public government's attempt to limit free speech in the name of national security. The 2014 Umbrella Revolution, though failing to achieve fundamental political reform, saw a surge in civic nationalism. The movement also produced many young dissidents who confronted the city's pro-Beijing leadership and later became pillars in the 2019 pro-democracy protests. Chinese identity in Hong Kong plummeted after the 2008 Beijing Olympics. During the unrest in 2019, only 1.8% of residents aged 18 to 29 saw themselves as Chinese, compared to 81.8% who identify as Hong Kongers. Hong Kong was born under British colonization. Its people share a history different from the bloody establishment of modern China. For the past century, it has been a haven for those seeking opportunities and greater freedoms. Its culture is multifaceted, fluid, resilient, a combination of the West and East. The displays of unity witnessed during the 2019 protests reaffirm that Hong Kong is neither Chinese nor British, but a nation in and for itself.
我寫本書嘅，我希望就係大家誠實翻，我可以用一種誠實嘅角度去面對自己。第一就丟掉個幻想啦，即係我哋唔好再想像，即係我哋可以真係中國係會真係會當我哋當係自己人。我哋唔好幻想我哋投降係可以得到任何長久嘅好處。我哋亦都要知道，我哋梗係真係手足嘅話，我哋手足之間。即係我哋未來真係香港真係有機會，香港有機會自立，成為一個自己嘅國家，真係一個真係光復咗嘅時候，咁我哋香港嘅理想嘅社會、理想嘅國家，應該用一個理想點樣嘅政治體系、社會體制會比較適合我哋呢？咁我諗希望歷史可以為呢啲問題提供一個指引。
Thanks for watching. This video is based on this book written by Koi Sing Yan. It explains who Hong Kongers really are by tracing their cultural heritage back to an era way before the arrival of the British and how the history in East Asia rolled out from a Hong Kong-centric perspective. It's a book that makes sense what we have seen in Hong Kong in the past years. I recommend it.